My people, look at my face very closely, because right now there is a global machinery, a multi-billion-dollar propaganda factory. They can print a lie in a fancy new paper, and you will suddenly turn your back on the man who is literally bleeding to keep your land free. I'm talking about one of the lions of the Sahel, the man the West fears so much they have to invent fairy tales just to sleep at night. General Assimi Goïta. Welcome back to Power and Pulse, to the true warriors, the African youths. Thank you for being here. If you're new to the family, buckle up. We do not do polite news here. We do the truth, and we do it with an edge. Today, we are dissecting a desperate smear campaign. The Western media just came out with a report, a leak they call it, claiming that Mali signed a secret deal with terrorists. They are claiming that Assimi Goïta released 200 jihadists just to get some petrol tankers through to Bamako. Think about that for a second. They want you to believe that the man who kicked out the French army, the man who reclaimed Kidal, the man who is building a wall of supremacy across the Sahel is now trading terrorists for fuel. It's a joke. But it's a dangerous joke. It's an information war designed to stir up confusion and make you lose trust in the very leaders who are giving us our strategic freedom. In this documentary, we are going to connect the dots. We're going to look at 500 tankers currently sitting in Bamako and explain exactly why the West is so mad that they had to invent this story. Let's take a trip back a few months. Do you remember the energy crisis in Mali? It was bad. I mean, real bad. So in Bamako, schools were closing, hospitals were struggling, people were sitting in the dark. Now ask yourself, was that an accident? Was it just bad government? No, it was a tactical, calculated siege by the same people who are chasing us, the ones who do not want us to be free. They cut the lines, they pressured the suppliers, they wanted the Malian people to suffer so much that they would rise against Assimi Goïta. They wanted a Malian Spring. They wanted mothers to be so frustrated that they would go into the streets and scream, "He's not managing the country well. He needs to leave." That was the script. But they forgot one thing. The Alliance of Sahel States. They forgot that when Mali hurts, Niger feels the pain. When Mali is thirsty, Burkina Faso brings the water. Niger and Burkina Faso stepped in. They didn't wait for the EU resolution. They didn't ask for a UN permit. They just acted. And as we speak, about 500 fuel tankers have successfully rolled into Bamako. Life is returning to normal. The schools are open. The lights are on. And when they realized they couldn't beat Assimi Goïta on the battlefield and they couldn't beat him through an energy blockade, they decided to use their most powerful weapon, information. The narrative they push is classic Western propaganda. So they said, oh, the only reason Goïta got those tankers through is because he made a deal with the devil. He released 200 high-level jihadis in exchange for safe passage. Do you see the poison in that story? They are trying to hit two birds with one stone. First, they want to make Goïta look weak, like he can't protect the roads without begging the terrorists. Second, they want to create confusion between the leaders of the AES. They want Ibrahim Traoré and Abdurrahman Chiani to look at Mali and say, wait, are you releasing the people we are trying to catch? But the spokesperson for the Malian Armed Forces didn't waste any time. He came out and dismissed this claim with the content it deserves. They never did it. They never would. The reality is much simpler. But the West hates it because it doesn't give them a role to play. The Malian army is now escorting these tankers themselves. They aren't asking for permission from terrorist stakeholders. They are providing the shield. They are fighting the jihadis, clearing the roads and bringing the lifeblood of the economy home. The Western media is simply unable to accept defeat. If they aren't the ones providing security, then the security must be fake or bought. They cannot fathom a world where an African army is actually competent. Why is the West pushing this narrative so hard? It's because they want to normalize the idea that terrorists are political stakeholders. Look at what is happening in some other neighboring countries, and I'll say look at Nigeria. In Nigeria, they have people who actually mediate between the government and the bandits. They treat these killers like they are a legitimate political party. They sit down, they have tea, they discuss ransoms. The West loves that. They love it when the state is weak enough to negotiate with its own destroyers. But Assimi Goïta said no. In Mali, a terrorist is not a stakeholder. A terrorist is a target. That is why they are mad. They want Goita to play the mediation game so they can keep the conflict going forever. So when Goita refuses to play, they invent a secret deal to make him look like a hypocrite. They want you to say, were those not the same people who said they would never sign a deal? They are trying to gaslight 20 million Malians. They are trying to make you doubt your own eyes. You see the petrol arriving, but they want you to believe it's tainted by a deal that never happened. I have to talk to the youth of Africa right now. Some of you are still too young, too brainwashed. You come to the comments and you say, but the BBC wouldn't lie, but the French journalists have sources. Let's be real. How can the same people who are oppressing you tell you the right thing concerning you? How can the person who stole your house give you an honest report on the condition of the roof? This is an information war. It is the most sophisticated warfare on earth. They have every tactic. If the energy blockade doesn't succeed, they use the smear campaign. If the smear campaign doesn't work, they use economic sanctions. And look at how they push this information. It spreads like wildfire. It's on every news feed, every algorithm, every radio station. They want to drown out the truth with a billion voices of doubt. You need to understand, your autonomy is the greatest threat to their bottom line. If Mali is free, if the Sahel is united, they lose their playground, they lose their cheap resources, they lose their excuses to be here. So they will lie. They will lie until the sun goes down, and they will lie until it comes up again. Our job, your job, is to be the filter. We need to start believing in ourselves. We need to start believing the stories we tell ourselves. For too long, we have outsourced our reality. If a story about Africa isn't confirmed by a Western agency, we think it's not true. This is the ultimate form of slavery. The Malian army says the road is safe. The 500 tankers in Bamako prove the road is safe. Why do you need a reporter in Washington to verify that the lights in your house are on? We are the only people that can stand by ourselves and defeat these people. This isn't just about military power. It's about intellectual mastery. It's about refusing to allow your mind to be colonized by a leak from an anonymous source in a foreign capital. The AES, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are building a new world. They are building a world where the African tells the African truth. If we continue to believe the narrative of the people that are oppressing us, we can never get anywhere. We will always be stuck in their maze, fighting each other over shadows. Do you know what really keeps the West awake at night? It's not just one general. It's the fact that they are now three. When the petrol crisis hit Mali, the West waited for the collapse. They waited for the screams, but instead, they saw trucks from Niger. They saw security support from Burkina Faso. This is the nightmare of the oppressor. We stood divided before, and they walked all over us. They could pick us off one by one, but now, the sovereignty of the Sahel is unified. They use this terrorist deal story to try and wedge a gap between these three nations. They want the people of Niger to think their fuel is being traded for jihadists. They want the people of Burkina Faso to think their sacrifices are being betrayed. But it's not working. The youth are waking up. We are seeing that what is on our soil belongs to us. We are the only ones that can set ourselves united. This is the time to unite even more, not just in our armies, but in our information. Have you noticed how these reports always work? It's always according to a source close to the matter, or an anonymous official said. Who is this source? Is this the same source that said there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq? Is this the same source that said Libya would be a paradise after Gaddafi? In Africa, we have a saying, a man who has been bitten by a snake is afraid of a piece of string. We've been bitten by the Western media snake too many times. We are no longer afraid of their anonymous strings. If you have a claim, show the evidence, show the names of the released prisoners, show the deal signed on paper. They can't, because it doesn't exist. It is a ghost story told to frighten the Malian public into returning to their former masters. We are at a turning point. Mali is not just a country, it is a laboratory for African autonomy. Everything that happens there, every lie told about Goita, every sanction imposed on the people is a test. They want to see if we have the stomach for freedom, if we can withstand the information war. We can withstand anything. The tankers in Bamako are more than just fuel. They are a symbol of a functioning independent state. They are proof that we can manage our own affairs, escort our own goods, and secure our own people without a foreign shield. That is actually a sword pointed at our backs. So, Assimi Goïta, the general, knows the stakes. He knows that his greatest defense is not the weapons in his arsenal, but the trust of his people. That is why they are attacking that trust. Do not let them win. Do not let them steal your confidence. The Western media can blast their propaganda like wildfire, but they cannot burn down the house that the people have built. Mali has dismissed the claims because the facts are on the ground. The tankers are in the city, the terrorists are on the run, and the national command is firmly in African hands. We are the only ones who can save ourselves. Before you go, please don't forget to support the movement. Smash the like button. Subscribe to Power and Pulse. We are the digital front line. We don't just report. We defend the cause of the continent. Share this video. Send it to every youth who is still reading the BBC or France 24. Wake them up. The information war is here. Choose your side. I'm your host Marie, and this is Power and Pulse, and I will see you in the next one.